We are recording. Okay, we have post-edit Bob here already. When I built the center diff, I didn't realize that the Nitro kit that we are also doing with this build has a different set of outdrives. So what I'm going to end up doing is just building the other diff for the e-Buggy, but I'm going to build it with these outdrives. So just know that if you're building the Nitro version of the car, when you build the center diff, you're going to get these. So just make sure that you go in your Nitro bag that comes with it and get these out and use those instead. They just don't have the lip on the outside. We are starting with the e-bag, upgraded parts. So Caster offers a few different variants in the angle of the C-hub, and I'm gonna go off the rip with this 17-degree C-hub, and we'll see how it feels. We've got the plastic 15 degrees here. These are going to be part number NTO 821.2-17. And then we've got the 2 aluminum front knuckles. That's NTO 821.2. And then I can't remember if I need to use the wide offset in the front or not. I'm gonna have to look on my setup sheet here in just a second. These are the +2 wheel hubs, so they're 2 millimeters thicker than these. Okay, and again we have, so something that I am not super comfortable with is that we have, then in our instruction manuals, we've got shims for these front hubs. These shims are showing that they go inside in the bearings. I'm wondering how easily these are going to fit in. Okay, I can probably force that down and in, but what I'm going to do, and a little tip for you guys, is to take your, that's actually got an extra part sitting in there. Take your bearings before you, if you get these aluminum or composite hubs or whatever they are. It's not as bad with the plastic ones because the plastic has a little bit of give, but anytime you have metal on metal contact and it's tight contact, what I normally do is I'll take these bearings and I'll go stick them in my freezer for about 5 minutes. And what that's going to do is, believe it or not, it's actually going to shrink the metal. Where did... Okay, so we will be replacing all of the hubs with the +2. I do believe I gave you that as that part number, maybe not. It's NTO 821.2, and that is the +2 millimeter hubs. And just like that, see how much easier that went in there? It literally fell right in. Let me make sure I don't need a spacer in here. And I do not. That one's still a little bit tight to go in, but that's okay. +2 mil. Yeah, so for sure you don't want to use the shim because we're already super tight, especially with the +2 mil. Good call on my part. Looks like it's gonna be nice and snug. Yeah, that time we went all the way in. And these do not have a chamfer on them. When I come back through, I'm not gonna do it now, but I'll take my grinder and just grind a little baby divot in here. And then what you do is when you put that in, you put that divot facing up, and then that way when you set put your set screw in, it'll lock into that divot and it won't let the pin come out. If for some reason it does loosen up a little bit, but if you use Loctite, you should be fine. And the way that I do this is with a T-wrench. About the only time that I use this T-wrench right here. Just make sure that you're in good. Put the T-wrench on. And then go straight in. It's gonna get snug. And then you take your thumb. Just tighten it down the rest of the way. Should be fine. When I come through and do the maintenance that I'm going to do, and we're going to rinse repeat on the other side. Go get the bearings out of the freezer. Yep. So we're pulling too far down on the bearing. So what I'm trying to figure out here is this isn't free. This is actually pinching this side of the bearing and this side of the bearing, and it's causing an issue. And I don't want those bearings to prematurely wear out. So I gotta figure out what's going on here. So when we're pulling the screw, we're fine, but as soon as I put pressure on that pin, it's pulling both of these together and putting too much pressure on that. So apparently it's rare, but on a few of the aluminum knuckles, the coating that they're putting on here is inconsistent, and it doesn't allow the bearing to sit down on both sides all the way. And so, like I said, on some of these, apparently in my kit it is one of them, if you tighten down that set screw and you start getting binding in the bearing, basically what you want to do is you want to get rid of a little bit of this lip right here. And the easiest way to do that is to take it and put it on a file, and then just kind of work it. Try to keep it as even as you can. Just rotate it. If you have a larger faced file, that's probably easier to do. And so we just want to do a little bit at a time until we've gone all the way around, and then we want to test. So you can see that I've cleaned some of the paint off of there, and what we're going to do is we're going to test this to see if I pulled enough of it off. I've had to do this on other kits before, but I definitely wanted to confirm, reach out to somebody and confirm that this was their solution. Like I said, it's rare, but sometimes it happens. And immediately that's better. Before, when I was hand tightening it, it was binding immediately. So I'm gonna tighten this down with the hex or with the T-wrench and see if that's gonna make it any better. So that's as tight as I would normally put that in there. Okay, and we're 1,000 times better. Before, this was so tight that I couldn't even, this wouldn't move. And so this is acceptable to me. I'm probably gonna grind it down just a little tiny bit more, just for peace of mind for me. If you go to do this and it is bound up and it's not free, you definitely need to shave the back of the wheel hex, because if you don't, it's going to cause the bearings to prematurely wear and have an additional issue down the line, on top of creating a bunch of drag on your drive line, which is going to be, it's going to make your car run real goofy. So just a heads up and a tip, a build tip. We're gonna run this one more time, and this may not happen on, you know, it may not. So this may be a pretty rare case. I think it's funny that I actually got one of the kits that did it, because I talked to one of the managers, Ryan Pettit, and he said that his didn't do this, and so that's why I started reaching out, just to make sure that I wasn't doing something wrong. So I'm going to grind this down just a wee bit more. And then we're going to rinse repeat over here. If there's an inconsistency in the powder coating material, that can cause this to happen. I've seen this happen in multiple places, not just here. In some car parts it'll happen, or so nothing to be uber concerned about, but just make sure that you take care of it and nip it in the bud. Times better. You can see that it's actually free now. So once I tighten this up, we will go ahead and move on to the next. I probably should throw a little more Loctite on there, but yeah, that's way better. Actually free now. So this looks like it's going to be a little bit tricky. We've got 2 inserts. And while you might be tempted to put the insert in that way, they need to go from the inside. Okay, and yep, yeah, these hubs just have a thicker coating on them than normal. That's got to be what it is. The easiest way to do that is to set it aside. And these are M4x10s, so there's 4 of those. Just to go through here. These need to go in. And we're going to set that down just for a second. And we're going to put some lock. I would go a little bit heavier on the Loctite here, just to make sure you get a good seal. And that did not look like Loctite, that looked like clear blue liquid. So you'll know if you've gone too tight, if this is actually not free. That's why I was saying to put a good amount of Loctite on there. And so now we're completely free. You're gonna want to keep an eye on these, especially if you don't have real consistent Loctite. Okay, so right side. Shaft goes in, and hub goes down. Okay, that's a little snug. So I'm gonna deburr that with my blade. You guys can see that or not. We want the suspension. Eventually that will work itself free, but not in my house. We're gonna get that out of there. You are gonna go in there, which is much cleaner now. Throw some Loctite on here, even though this is a nylon. This has a nylon cap in it. I'm gonna do that very same thing for both sides. And I will tighten that down in just a second. Okay, and we are long links, so going all the way out. And this is why I was saying earlier that this distance in here, remember when we measured 15.5 in here, that it wasn't so important because it depends on what setup you're gonna run. This is way too much camber, I can tell you right now, so it's gonna have to get readjusted anyways. And then we'll do the same thing on this side with a little bit of Loctite. You don't have to put the Loctite on here. There is a nylon insert inside this nut. But I'm gonna do it because it'll be my luck that that's what's gonna come undone during a main. Side down, and you guys turn your head. That's it. I want that super tight. You want this completely free. It will break in a little bit, but you don't want to have any binding. Anti-binder. And then same thing on this side. Are you even in? You're not even in here. Oh, she hit the ground, boys. That's it. Gone forever. Just kidding, I caught that one. And we do have a baby bit of binding, but it has to do with these links being too short. That is going to conclude bag E. Okay, moving on to bag F. And this looks like it is the steering rack. for the servo saver. We're going to start off with the servo saver. See if I can't get this one right on the first try. We have top and a bottom that are plastic right now. So this one's going to go on here. It's going to lock down into the bottom. This one's going to go the opposite way. Just so you guys can see it that way. That way. Okay. These springs, here's another not pro tip, is you just want to give them a good squeeze down. Before you put them in. To go on the inside of this guy. This is always a bundle of joy. Okay. Just make sure that it's seated properly. And then normally I will take a little bit of oil or diff fluid or whatever you want to use, and then lubricate that on the inside. You can use whatever you want. You can use shock oil. Doesn't really make that big of a difference, but you do want to hit this with some kind of lubrication. Otherwise that that rubber seal that we just put in there will grab too much. It'll probably pinch and cut it. And you will end up with a loose servo saver. Okay, we just want to screw that on. And I normally put these things down pretty dang tight. It's really at your discretion how tight you want it to be. Be careful with these because they are aluminum. But I will normally throw mine almost all the way down and then back it out like a half or a quarter turn. So you'll know because that'll happen. And then just back it back out a little tiny bit. And that'll give you enough room for this to actually break free if you do hit pipe or you start tumbling or whatever. Because these identical. So those are 100% identical. So the easier way to do this is to put this bearing on down here. Put that up and through. Put your other bearing on. That's now I got it. Now, okay, so the directions are pretty hard to read as far as this goes. Thankfully, I've put a few of these together before. And so what we're looking at is on the left-hand side. And what we're going to do is we're going to run the Ackerman forward. So if we're looking at the buggy, let me pull this over here. This is your left side, this piece right here. Looks like the servo saver is on the right. Ackerman you want pointing forward, and then that assembly is going to screw into there. So go ahead and do that now. Put this guy in here. This bottom piece, I'm assuming, is there as a brace. I know I've seen in a few other buggies this top part will bend or warp, so I'm assuming that this is nothing more than a brace. So you're going to go in there, and this is going to go down in here. So again, this curvature is on the left side and it goes up, and you want your Ackerman facing forward, so this hump, you'll be able to read the ETO from the back side. We go this way. So this is going to be where your link goes to your servo. This is the front of the buggy. So it's going to go like this, but it'll go in. So getting this in the right orientation is pretty important. There's no bearings in there. We need to build our links. We're just going to do this very quickly because these are going to have to get readjusted too. These, actually, I'm just now noticing, have a marker. Typically I put that marker on the left side. And so the curved link goes on the outside. This will be my right side link. This marker goes on the inside, on the left. I did this one backwards. I will take that off and swap it. The reason you want that marker to be in the same spot, if you don't know, is because then every single one of these links, if this marker's on the left side, they will all be the exact same when you're going to adjust. Okay, and we're going to go out. It looks like that's going to drop down and then large side is going to go up. The curve on the left side is going to go facing back. And we are in, we are the opposite on the outside curved link. We want the smaller side that has the two things on it to go there. The two edges for you to make sure you can get a hold of it. So just so you know. Okay, so that's that side. Man, I would much rather be doing this on a chassis. Go in probably until it snugs up, because I got a feeling that bottom is spinning. Yeah. Do the same thing on the other side. It's always unique to see how manufacturers create a manual. Everybody does it. Everybody does their builds a little bit differently. did put Loctite on there. You can see it oozing out a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to snug that up. Make sure that these bottom bearings are all the way in. Sorry about the light. Okay, and when we go to set this in the chassis, maybe not. I thought for sure there would be a groove in there. There is screws in the bottom, so that will tighten it up. You'll need to come back through and retighten these. When this goes in the chassis and you get the bottom screws in the pan head, when you tighten these bottom ones, you're going to want to come back through and retighten these top two. Okay, and steering, I'm pretty sure that I'm in the middle for my setup. Kit looks like it's showing that it's in the middle. If you're looking for more overall steering, you want to go forward. If you're looking for a little bit less steering or less edginess, you want to come back. So looks like I'm going middle right off the rip. We'll see. That's personal taste for everybody. These are the M3x10s. Okay, that actually snugged up pretty nice. And I don't see them calling for any washers in here. That's kind of interesting to me. Makes me wonder how the bump steer is going to be. I'm going to hit this one with some Loctite as well. One side done, nice and free, and then rinse repeat for this side. Shorter one goes on the inside. Completed bulkhead assembly, including steering rack. So the only thing that I will say is just remember when you come back through after this goes on the front of the chassis, just make sure after these are tightened up on the bottom, make sure you come back and tighten these down. The other option you have is to grab these with a pair of pliers. I don't want to do that. So that's going to conclude this bag. We will come back in the next video with the next bag. Thanks for watching.